September 10th, 2020. We'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Keith, would you take roll, please?
Sure. Larry Fox,
Here.
Mike Mitchell,
Here.
Michelle LaRose,
Here.
Joe Colaney, Sue Grissom,
Here.
Tom Murphy. Roll's complete.
All righty, thank you. Next up, item 4, approval of our agenda.
So moved. Sorry.
So moved.
We'll go with a motion from Commissioner Mitchell, second from Commissioner Grissom. Are there any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, item 5 is call to the public. If you're here for anything, or if you'd like to speak about anything other than item 6A, now would be the time. During the agenda item 6A, since it's a public hearing, we will have an opportunity for you to come forward at that time. So anything but item 6A? Okay, we will close the call to the public, and we're going to move right on into item 6A. As I mentioned, this is a public hearing. In a moment, I'll open the public hearing up, and the order of business tonight will be that when I open the public hearing, I'll turn the floor over to our planning director, who will introduce the project. And then we'll ask the applicant to come up and add any additional comments they would like to add to the presentation. We'll ask them to go back to their seat, and at that point, we'll open the floor up to any public comment. There won't be a lot of interaction. We'll just be taking notes on any comments you have. And then after the public comment is done, we'll close the public hearing, and then the Planning Commission, the applicant, and our planning director will discuss the project, and we'll get answers to some of the questions, or as best we can, the questions that come up this evening. So what I'd like to do is open the public hearing at 7:03 p.m. for the applicant, Jack Partica, I think, in the Heartland Commerce Center located at 10055 Bergen Road, Unit 11, parcel ID number 4708-28-303-011. The property is zoned light industrial. The applicant is requesting approval to establish an undercoating business for vehicles. And for the record, all our public notice requirements for this public hearing this evening have been met. So with that, we'll turn the floor over to our planning director, Troy Langer.
Thank you. Let me start off by trying to show maybe where this is located. This is a zoning map of Heartland Township. I'm going to zoom in close to the intersection of US 23 going north and south, and then this is M59 here going east and west here. Where we're located would be going to the west of that intersection and then coming down old US 23 to Bergen Road and then going further west. We're going to be in this area right here. This is an area that's the Heartland Commerce Center. I'm going to get a little site plan of that. So this is a general, this is not a engineered site plan or anything like that. It's just a general layout of the Heartland Commerce Center with Bergen Road at the bottom. And then as you can see, there's a number of buildings, and then those buildings are divided into separate units. Those units are condominium units, so somebody actually owns those units. And then it's a shared parking development, but each of the unit owners has their own particular portion of that building. And then what I've got here is a general site plan to show which one that is. So this again is Bergen Road at the bottom. And then this is the unit number we're looking at in this general location, kind of in the southernmost portion of Bergen Road, that would have parking on this side, and then in the back is kind of their, I'll call it the, where the garage bay area would be. So what the applicant is proposing to do is to have an undercoating business. It's a part-time business currently. It's how he's proposed it. If he's successful, it would become full-time. Customers would have an appointment. They would bring their car there. The vehicle would then be serviced there, and then the car would either be out in the parking lot or the customer would just leave with it. So he's applying a product to the car. It's a toxic-free, non-flammable product that he claims provides a unique benefit in the undercoating business. This particular zoning district is light industrial, and in the light industrial district, automobile repair major is the only activity that this could fall under. That is only permitted by special use permit. That's why he's here. He's requested a special use permit. A special use permit requires approval from the Planning Commission, a recommendation from the Planning Commission, then ultimately will require final approval from our Township Board. This also is the site plan portion of it. In this case, the site plan has already been approved previously. He's just using the existing facility, the existing building. There's no exterior changes to the site plan. So his project would not involve, other than if he's doing some sort of a ventilation system or something to that effect, there's no physical changes to the building or the site. So that's the request, that's the process that he's going through. He's provided his letter in the application. You have comments from the other reviewing agencies, and if you have questions, I'll be available to answer.
Great, thank you, Troy. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yeah.
Would you like to come forward? Introduce yourself, anything you'd like to add to the process? You can either we need you to speak into the mic so it goes to television land. We have a huge viewing audience.
My name's John Partica. I'm the owner, or to-be owner of the business. It's basically just like Troy was saying, that I'd bring a car in, service it. The product that I'm using is a mineral-based oil. The rust inhibitors that are in the oil are from plants and animal fats. So it's pretty much an organic product. If you have any other questions,
All right, if you want to have a seat, what we'll do is let anybody in the audience who wants to come forward, just give us your name, address, and any comments you like. Like I said, there won't be a lot of interaction, but we'll take some notes and get answers later tonight. So if anyone would like to speak, come on forward.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Wally Haley, Haley Law Firm, and H&G Site Development, which is the owner of the unit next door to Mr. Partica's proposed use. If you look on the drawing up there, we would be Unit 12, and I also understand that Unit 10, who stopped by my office today, provided a letter to Troy in opposition to the use. Obviously, this is an addition to a light industrial that requires a special use for a reason. The special land use has to be harmonious with the surrounding uses. If you look at specifically the uses on either side of them, they're pretty much office uses. Notwithstanding that, it is light industrial, so we are aware that we are office uses in a light industrial park. However, if you look at all the other uses in the park, they're pretty much office or warehousing or those type of uses. I don't know, Troy, did you forward the email today that I gave you?
Yes, all emails were forwarded.
We keep coming back to this as some kind of an organic product. It's like we can spray it on ourselves and not have to worry about it. It's an oil, It's an oil that's being used for undercoating. Whether, all oil comes from an organic product. It's all decayed things over millions of years. Everything's organic. The reality of this is if you look at the material safety data sheet that Troy provided me, it does warn of contact with skin, the eyes, and most importantly, avoid release to the environment. We are the environment. We're the next door neighbors in this. These buildings were not constructed to provide barriers from toxic materials to the east or to the west of this site. The warehouse portion, if, Troy, could I get you to put up the one where he shows the lift in that? Do you have that? It just should be another page or so.
This one?
No, there's one, he shows the warehouse area with a lift, and maybe you don't have it. Anyway,
Like the interior?
yeah, the interior shot, but no, that's it. There you go. Thank you. If you look on how these buildings are constructed, they're buildings with 4 or 5 units in each one of them. As he even says in his own site plan, it's a warehouse area, okay? All those walls that are between the neighbors in the entire condominium complex are just drywall. They're just stud walls with drywall over top of them. There's no real odor protection, barrier protection, or anything like that. And that's really our concern. I'm a property rights guy. I don't want to stand in any way of anybody's business, but I got to believe that there's a better place to find this. If you look, I do a lot with cars and stuff, so I go to garages. I've been to other rust coating places, the spray bed places. Those are all done in masonry block buildings with non-permeable walls. We have attics that we share in this building. So the bottom line is that I don't think we have enough information to say that this is harmonious with existing uses. There's his own material safety data sheet says to the contrary. So what I would ask is that we get some more information from the applicant as to how they're going to protect the other uses, specifically mine and the one next door. I've got some people that are compromised in my office. I have a woman who's fighting breast cancer. She's on her 4th round of chemo over 10 years, and it's a struggle. And so she has a serious concern about toxins in the environment. Ventilation, absorption into drywall, sewer contamination. The one thing the MSDS specifically warns against is ground contamination of his organic product that he's going to spray on these cars. So, with that, I would ask that you be provided more information that makes me and you guys believe that this is really harmonious to be adjacent to 2 existing office uses. And if that's not, if you go ahead and approve this thing and you're satisfied by those kind of proofs that the guy will provide, I would like to ask that the commission provide at least a non-permeable barrier as one of your requirements for your special use for the walls. Okay, something that he has to put up in his shop to make sure the drywall is not penetrated with the oil. I mean, you can see with the size of the car lift how tight an area he's going to be working in. There's overspray that is guaranteed to go onto the walls, no matter how careful and clean they are. And then provide a ventilation system that adequately filters out any contaminants in the air, and any ventilation to the outside of the building be filtered so that it doesn't go on anybody else's cars or passengers or pedestrians or anything in the back of the building, because everybody parks cars back there. So if you just ventilate this stuff directly out of the building, there's no guarantee it's not falling on cars and any long-term effects on that. I talked to a friend of mine who's a chemical engineer, owns his own business in the waste management business, and he says that anybody who does any type of work like this should provide a pollution liability coverage policy. And I would ask that policy be a condition of any special use. And then I think, given the fact that I wish him all the best of luck, but he is a new business owner and new businesses tend to fail. 1 out of 3 times in 5 years. So I'd ask that you do some kind of surety bond so that no one else has to go in and clean out the place if he would go bankrupt or lose the business in some way, shape, or form. And you may argue that these are building department issues. I don't think they are. They're special land use issues because of the nature of the building itself, the uses surrounding the building, and the people in those buildings. So with that, I'll sit down, and if you have any questions for us, I would be more than happy to answer.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else?
I guess I would like to say something.
Well, if you'd like to come on forward here, we'll get your name, and we'll allow you to talk.
My name is Dan Iden, and I am the current building owner. So John and I have entered into an agreement for a purchase agreement to sell the building to him so that he can run this business out of there. And I guess when I listen to what Wally's saying, he's my neighbor, so it's a little bit, I don't know if I want to say disturbing to hear him coming up here and saying all these things, because I look at it and I say, everybody always wants to have something and have things where they put their business, and if they don't like change around themselves, they generally will speak out against it. And I kind of feel like, apologize, my thing's slipping out. I feel like, people do this all the time. I had a friend who had a house, and he had a father who was really sick over in Milford, and he had 10 acres of land. And the man had built up all kinds of medical bills. And then when his father passed away, he needed to subdivide the property into a couple, so he tried to break it down into 4 2.5 acre parcels and sell the land off. And everybody in the thing fought him. These people who moved into a subdivision right on top of him, and they all had like these little half-acre lots. Well, they all said, well, we moved out here to be in the country. They moved out there to be in his country, right? It's his land, but yet they wanted that land to be their country and their space, right? And I kind of feel like it's the same kind of a thing here. If you buy a property for his company and you want to be in a place that has thinner walls, and you're going to now complain about that because a business moves in next door, well, you knew that when you bought in there. It's not like he bought out on an acre of land or 2 acres of land, or like a lot of businesses that I know that build a spot out on Grand River or something, they buy a freestanding building. So they have their own space. People can't infiltrate your space because you paid for your space. Here, they wanted to be in a building that they were touching with everybody else. Because why? Because it's cheaper for all of us, right? It's what it is. It's an industrial complex for that type of stuff. There was a business that you guys had in there for years. It was the Mr. Sparky's and all of those guys. If you want to talk about industrial and stuff going on, I mean, these guys are storing garbage and, ripping out people's hot water tanks. And every time I'd come out to my dumpster, there's like unlimited amounts of trash in there. So when I think about the types of businesses that go on, I hear sawing and cutting and different things going on back in there. There's all kinds of businesses in our place. There's no way that everybody just happens to be a peaceful, quiet little desk job like mine or something. That just isn't everything that's in there. So I don't think he can make a case for the fact that that's the situation just because he happens to be next to a neighbor like me who just, runs a computer and talks on the phone. So I don't think that has anything to do with whether John's business becomes illegitimate for our industrial complex. So that was one thing I wanted to say. I also didn't really like that he mentions toxic. He keeps, mentioning the words toxic. He went and created a letter, gave it to all the neighbors, like trying to drum up people to come up here and dispute this. So to me, if you've got an issue with it, you should come up here. You shouldn't go around trying to solicit other people trying to knock the business down. And I feel like that was something he did that was, to me, disappointing, because all of my neighbors were given this letter. I was not even given the courtesy to have this letter. I was a little disappointed in that. What else do I want to say? He mentioned something about the walls and the thinness of the walls. And the other thing is, I understand, is that our first building there is the only building set in that whole complex that actually has firewalls in there. So that's an advantage. So I don't know how that's, his comments of overspray that he's going to guarantee John is going to be spraying on the walls. I don't know how he's going to guarantee that, but I don't see that as a thing. I mean, you have a car there. He's got a light sprayer, you're putting it directly on the car. I don't know how it's going to continue another 12, 15 feet over to a wall and then burrow through his wall. It just doesn't seem to make sense through a fire-safe wall. And then, yeah, the harmonious thing with other existing uses around them, I'm not sure where that comes from. I didn't know that was a requirement when I moved in. I wasn't told that I had to move into somebody's building that was similar to my business and operating in the same manner of pencils and computers. The other thing is he mentions about, and I feel horrible about this, and I do know this about TJ, the next door neighbor, that she does have cancer. And I do feel terrible about that. In fact, I had just recommended a new medication to her, Wally, just recently, trying to help her because I had heard about a new potential drug that came up that could maybe help her. But as I understand it from her, she's selling her business and her portion of that business. And from what she says, and I don't see her around there hardly anymore, I understand that she's exiting that business. So I'm not sure how that's relevant either, but that's, I guess, here nor there. But I don't like that being used as a reason why John's business, again, shouldn't exist in Heartland. And then the pollution liability coverage, again, I don't understand how that becomes Wally's concern, how he can dictate what businesses need to go out and get what insurances for their business. I've never heard of an individual being able to make a statement like that. I didn't know that was even an option. So those are the points. I was just trying to make some notes when he was speaking on things that I kind of didn't agree with, so I wanted those said. It's been a long process. I had my business sold to somebody else at the time John came along, and they presented me with an offer that was provides a situation where I'm going to lease back the space and I'm going to stay in there. So I guess if anybody should be concerned about this, I would think it would be me, which I have no concerns because this stuff is non-toxic and all natural type material. So I'm going to coexist in the space. I'm not worried about it at all, and I don't know why anyone else should be around us. So that's what I wanted to say. And again, I could have sold this business months and months ago, and I know this process. I know it. This is the way it has to work with the township and stuff. So that's why we're going through this process. But I guess a little disheartening to find all the way down the road that there would be obstacles like this that I wouldn't have ever anticipated. But it is what it is, and I just wanted to say my piece too. So I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Behind you, back corner. We're not getting into rebuttals back and forth, so we don't do that. We don't do that.
I'm a unit owner.
Okay, yeah, just introduce yourself, please.
Yep,
Your name.
Tim Belts.
Tim?
Yep. I just think it's reasonable to request how the oil is going to be contained. I can see it dripping off the car, it's running out the door. Are the cars going to be left there for hours at a time? Is there 10 cars there? How many cars are going to be sitting around? Is the oil dripping off the cars into our parking lot? Those kind of things. So I think it's reasonable to get a plan on how the oil will be contained. And like, we can't have overnight, I don't think we're supposed to have overnight parking. So I could see somebody wants to drop their car off, leave it, get it serviced. We're not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
To the chair,
If it's rebuttals, I don't want to get into arguments, that's all.
Material misstatements I would like to correct.
We heard both of your statements today.
The statements were not true that he was making, especially about my partner who owns the business, has no intention of leaving the business. She is sick, but she has no intention of leaving the business. She's selling her half of the building back to me, so she has no intention of leaving the business.
Okay.
And, you can speak of courtesy of not getting a letter. How about a courtesy of a guy who wants to come in and put an undercoating business in and knocking on some neighbors' doors and saying what he'd like to do? So,
All righty. Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Not, I think what we're going to do is close this public hearing here at 7:25. Now I'll pronounce your name correctly. Partika. Partika. Third time I'm going to get it. Would you like to come on back up? What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the staff review letter dated September 3rd. And We're just going to call you Jack. Okay? And Troy and the Planning Commission, so we're going to review the letter. Any questions, maybe some interaction, and that would help. I'm looking at the letter dated September 3rd, and I am on page 4, or packet page number 5, special land use review. There are a couple sections we're going to take a look at today. One is special land use review, and then there's a special land use review of applicable standards. In this case, we're talking about automotive major repair standards. So if we take a look at the bottom of the page there, we have a section in our ordinance called Section 6.6 Special Uses, and the following standards sort of serve as a guideline as we review an application for a special use permit. And those are labeled there or outlined in A through F, and we see that we have a response from Jack in terms of 2 paragraphs, specifically one 6.65, explaining the undercoating business to be formed in the unit fits land use for buildings and zonings in this district. The building structure is existing, which you're not changing the site plan.
No.
There are no changes to the building or increases in public service or cost.
No.
The product will be used in a is non-flammable, non-hazardous, and meets the code for the building.
Yep.
And that's been reviewed by the fire department. We have been in contact, you have been with the county building department and the fire department, and at this point, there aren't any significant issues that either of them have seen. Troy, do you have anything you want to add to that, or planning commissioners, any questions on it?
No.
Anything, Troy?
No, I really don't have anything to add.
So now let's look at the specific category itself, which is where a lot of the discussion probably could take place, and this is the applicable standards. In this case, we're talking automotive repair major, which is section 4.9. And in the case, the first item we have to look at is this considered a repair facility or activity. You've talked with the building department about the undercoating product and ventilation requirements, and
Yeah.
what have they had to say?
They said for the mechanical, the only thing that's really required is in the mechanical, and that's to have a ventilation that's 0.75 CFM per square foot of the warehouse space.
Okay. Any questions on that? Does this have much of an odor to it?
No, it actually has a citrus odor to it.
So that's going to be a ventilation, you're just going to put a vent on the side of the building or something going through the
Yeah,
roof?
probably go through the roof, yep,
Through the roof?
yep,
And that's all building department
right.
reviewed, permit approved,
Yeah,
and
I
that
would
type
have
of
to,
thing?
yep.
Any questions on that?
And will that ventilation system be filtered?
They didn't say it was required, but, I'm not against it.
He's going to, Troy, what's the process after if he were successful this evening in getting a recommendation and then to the board, and then he goes to the board and was successful there, what is the process for everybody here? Then what happens after that?
So then, after the township board has approved the special use permit, his next step is going to be a land use permit, which is an administrative review where we would look at probably more elaborate what's all going to occur inside of this building, and some more detail on the ventilation and the proposed car lift and any other interior changes that he's making. And then we issue that permit and stamp those plans approved. He then proceeds to the county building department for permit. He cannot go to the county building department until he has the land use permit approved by the township.
Okay. All right, any questions on that component? The building department is the one that's going to handle the ventilation.
Yeah, the ventilation would be the, and I don't recall if the fire authority was making comments on the ventilation as well. I don't think they were, but it would be those two entities that would, if there were an issue on ventilation, that's, and we've got some requirements about that it not, if there's any necessary venting of the building, But it basically just would be to their standards, so.
Okay. Item 2 is the outdoor storage. So you're just talking people dropping and picking off a car,
Yeah, it's
picking
going to
up
be
a
by
car.
appointment only. Yep.
So no outdoor storage. We don't really get into a lot of it. I know there's some that goes on out there, but there is a limit on how much can be. But you're not storing barrels of anything
No,
outside?
I'm not even storing the product outside.
Used product outside, anything of that nature?
No.
The grades of the property, since he's not changing the property, the grades of the property, the site are what they are. So there isn't much there. Vehicle sales and storage, again, we just touched on that. That's a drop it off before.
Right.
You can have early bird drop off, keys in the
Probably,
mail,
yep, that's
keys through a
probably what's going
slot,
to happen, yep.
kind of a thing.
Yep.
Okay. Questions on that?
No.
So you've provided the PIP plan, the Environment Protection Plan?
I talked to the fire department about it, yeah.
Okay, and you'll provide one?
Yeah, I will provide one to them, yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. That just was the 5 topics of the automobile repair major. The other is site plan, and Troy, as you've stated, since we are not changing the structure itself, it is not necessary to go through any site plan review process on this.
We just provided for you the parking calculations to show that there's more parking on this site than what is required.
Okay. Yeah, I see. It looks like they have a lot more than required. 124 required, and they have 240. So not quite double. There are no other additional standards to follow. DPW doesn't have any comments on it. The engineer doesn't have any comments on it. We have the fire authority letter. It looks like she pretty much is okay when she's read the MSDS
Yeah.
sheets. Are there any questions for him on that?
No.
Anything?
I just have one comment, if you haven't already. I know the special land use permit would be subject to the condition of all of the agency approvals, whether it's the fire authority, whatever the comments are. I just wanted to add Genesee County in there as well from the sewer perspective, because I'm not sure if they would have any sampling or permit requirements. Typically for commercial, they do for connecting to the sewer system. So I would just want to note to add that.
I think I filled out an application to them already prior to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it because it does say any other government agencies, but I know sometimes that piece gets missed.
Yeah, I did fill out an application to Genesee Drainage.
Okay.
Is this a new process or a new product?
Yeah, I mean, it's relatively new, yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Are there any businesses around that are doing this that you're aware of? or-
You know, there's some companies in Jackson, some in, I think there's maybe one in Flint, but those are the only 2 that are actually using this particular product.
Yeah. How'd you find it? Curiosity.
You know, I was curious about undercoating my car with an oil-based undercoating, you know, because I've had trucks in the past, and I'm been in construction for 26 years, so, you know, my brake lines would rust out, my fuel lines would rust out, you know, which was all pretty much hazards for me because I'd pull trailers and everything else. So when I got a new truck, I wanted to protect it, and I didn't want the old Z-Bar way. I didn't want the wax. I didn't want the, you know, the tar, because all it would do is just crack, and then moisture and salt and everything would get underneath it, and it would just rot it even worse. So I wanted to find something with an oil base, so I just went on the internet and started looking around, and I found this guy's product.
So how long does it take to, once you get the car up in the air and you're under there, how long are you actually spraying a
Yeah, I mean, it
standard
probably takes
vehicle?
about an hour.
About an hour?
Yeah. You know, the actual spraying of the frame, it doesn't take that much. You know, where you get into it is squirting into the, you know, like the door jambs and in the seams, and getting in, you know, into the tight areas, the pinch welds and stuff like that, which, you know, and that process right there doesn't even go into the air, it goes into the body.
So do you buy this in a large container and then have some kind of air-assisted airless gun that's spraying?
5-gallon buckets, yeah.
Okay, and then how does it?
It's got, I have a pump
Okay.
gun, and so it's not compressed air or anything that I'm putting it on with. It's a pump that creates pressure and shoots out the product.
So is it a mist when it's coming out, or is it thicker?
You know, I mean, on their website, yeah, he has a mist, but the gun that I have, it doesn't really shoot a mist. It kind of splurts it onto the body. So I'm not really interested in creating a mist, because the more mist you create, the more product you're wasting, you know? So I want the product to go on the car and stay on the car. I don't want it to, you know, go in the air and waste it.
Yeah.
Or drip off to the floor or whatever, you know?
Is it dripping off? I mean,
No,
is it?
no, once it goes on, it stays on, it sticks, you know? I mean, it's a mineral oil, you know?
Yeah. So do you seal the cement floor that you're doing this over, or does it really not get on the floor?
You know, it doesn't really get on the floor too much.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I mean, if it does get on the floor, I'd probably use kitty litter or whatever, you know? But I'm not anticipating, you know, it getting really, really bad, to be honest with you. But the fire department, they were talking to me about that too. What are you going to do with the waste or whatever? And I said, you know, if I clean it up with sawdust or whatever, I'll collect it and put it in a barrel and have hazardous waste come and get it if that's what it takes. I said, you know, I'm not against anything, you know.
Do you know what the other companies are doing to dispose of it?
Yeah, I talked to the owner of that company, and they said that they usually just use sawdust and they throw it in the trash. They clean it up and throw it in the trash.
You guys got any questions? I mean, I can have 50.
I looked at the YouTube for the application of it, and the guy applying it didn't even wear a mask. He wore goggles. In fact, he didn't even always wear goggles. And that was mostly when he was trying to get in the seams and door panels and things like that. But the only mist that I saw was when he was doing it under the vehicle. And there's very little overspray, very little mist. Most of it goes directly on the, it's kind of like a spray paint. If you think of a spray paint going on, it goes on, it sticks, it's not running all over as it sprays. And between that and looking at the MSDS sheets, I didn't really see anything that should cause a problem or consider it a hazardous situation down there. So I'm comfortable with it.
So is this spray like a fairly narrow fan of whatever's
Yes.
coming out?
Yeah, I mean, you can get different sprays. There's different adapters. You can actually get hoses with, you know, sprays on the end that you can stick into the frame and, you know, pull it through the frame so you can get inside the frame. And so there's all kinds of different fans and nozzles that you can use to get different types of sprays.
Gotcha. Troy, do you have the zoning ordinance LI, the uses permitted and special,
I can pull it up. I don't have
if
it.
you could? I'm just curious. I looked at it before the meeting, I just can't recite it all right now.
Oh, here we go. 26. Let me get to this, I can hyperlink. There it is. There. Is that what you wanted?
Does that fancy machine make that print any larger?
Oh, wait, you reviewed on your monitor.
Yeah.
In item 11, it says like light industrial uses, and then it has a bookmark. Is that like goes then to a definition of what that is?
Yep. So these are all hyperlinks. So, for example, if I clicked on that, it would take me directly to a different section. And then there's, if it's got this book, there's probably a definition.
Would you mind clicking on, so on the left side underneath 11, it says
Light
light
industrial?
industrial, and it has the book?
Oh, that one's
This
not,
one right-
yeah,
That's
okay.
not, I just thought that's a good one to define, because everything else isn't really
Yeah, click on automobile repair major. There you go.
Yep.
And that's some of the
Yeah.
requirements of it.
And that's in special uses, but on the left column was just within light
Light
industrial
industrial.
uses, and I was just
Well, go
curious.
to the light industrial page if you would, and the first opening paragraph will usually give you somewhat of a description of some of the things that are envisioned there.
Yeah, it does not hyperlink back.
Yeah.
So once you've gone there, you have to manually get your way back. But
Yeah, because I was trying to look myself at the beginning.
Just go to, click on 3, click on zone, oh, there you go. Well, you're almost there now. Okay, so up at the top, go read the paragraph right above where you are.
Okay.
Scroll up a little bit more, right
There we
there.
go.
this paragraph here,
No, the paragraph introducing what light industrial is, it's the top of it's cut off right now by the black bar. There you go.
you know.
Okay.
So the LI Light Industrial District.
Right.
Designed so as to primarily accommodate industrial parks, wholesale activities, warehouses, and industrial operations whose external physical effects are restricted to the area of the district and in no manner detrimentally affect any of the surrounding districts. The LI district is so structured as to permit, along with any specified uses, the manufacturing, compounding, processing, packaging, assembly, and/or treatment of finished or semi-finished products from previously prepared material. It is further intended that the processing of raw material for shipment in bulk form to be used in an industrial operation at another location is not to be permitted.
Okay.
Thanks.
The comment I have is, as far as harmonious to the area, it's a multiple use area, and there's office space, and including, I know of at least one other car repair place there. So, I mean, and they have storage of barrels and things, so there's a lot of different activities that go in there, so it's hard to say it's harmonious or not harmonious, but it does qualify under the special use under LI, so it is within the zoning requirements.
Well, and it belongs in the category.
Right.
That's where I was going on
Right.
that paragraph. It certainly doesn't belong in a GC
No.
or an I category, so it certainly, by what he's performing there, belongs in that category. And I would agree, in a multi-tenant building under an LI zoning, you're going to pretty much work with everything that's permitted within the zoning district. And it is, to some, I mean, the difference is right there. I mean, we have Mr. Haley here, and, you know, he's a professional, you're not a medical office, but you're running a professional office in the LI district. At the same time, you could have anything else that's on that page there. That's what you get. If you want to be specific to something very small, you have to move to another district. You want to be in general commercial and you want to sell things, food and restaurants, then you go to general GC. You want to be in just office, then you go to office. You want to be in residential high density, you go to our high density apartment, multiple family housing zoning districts. You want to live on 10-acre parcels, then you go into the zoning district that takes 10-acre parcels. So this is where this business belongs, is in the LI district, and it is a conglomeration of many types of varied uses.
Right?
I guess that would be my opinion of it. The ventilation point is really it's really a Livingston County thing. It's not a Heartland Township issue,
Right.
because you're going to have to meet their standards.
Correct.
Just reading through my notes here. I've been doing this a long time. I would agree with whoever in the audience made the comment. I don't recall ever requiring any liability policies required by the township, that type of thing. So I would have to agree with that statement. And to the best of my recollection, I think I would remember that. We do have oil change places in town, and we don't require that of them. And they have possibilities of issues, Bell Tire, does oil changes, tires, all those types of things. So we get in the PIP programs and the protection programs and all that, and then that deals with that particular issue and how it's going to be dealt with if there is anything that should happen. Any other questions or thoughts or comments? What would you like to do with this evening?
Please make a motion.
You're welcome to do as you please.
I just want to
Yep.
actually comment in the recommended action in Troy's report, it states that under item 5, that the PIP has been provided to the fire authority, but you said you spoke to them but did not submit yet, is that correct?
Yeah, I talked to her, and I filled out so much paperwork. I may have filled it out, and because she told me, she goes, no, you're all set, you're good.
I just
So-
didn't know for the sake of accuracy if item 5 should be stated will provide as opposed to
I think
has
it should.
provided.
I think it should.
Okay.
Move to recommend approval of site plan with special land use application 20-009, a request to establish an undercoating business as a special land use at 10055 Bergen Road in Heartland Commerce Center. The recommendation for approval is based on the following findings. The proposed special land use undercoating meets the intent and purposes of the ordinance as well as the specific use standards outlined in Section 6.6, special uses, and Section 4.59, automobile repair major, as undercoating is permitted as a special land use in the LI Light Industrial District zoning district. The proposed use is compatible with the existing and future land use in the vicinity and is consistent with the plans previously approved by the township for Heartland Commerce Center. The proposed use is compatible with Heartland Township Comprehensive Plan, which designates this area as planned industrial research and development. The intent of this designation is to accommodate light industrial land uses which are similar in nature to those currently permitted in the LI district. The proposed undercoating business is located in an established development, the Heartland Commerce Center, which is currently served by public sewer and private well. The proposed use will be adequately served by existing essential facilities and public services, and the fire department has no objections. The proposed use will not be determined detrimental, hazardous, or disturbing to the existing or future neighbors' uses, persons, or the public welfare. The undercoating process takes place in a fully enclosed building, and the applicant has provided a pollution incident prevention plan to the fire department. Is that satisfactory?
Will provide.
Okay, will provide, sorry. Okay. I was going to add a separate one, okay. The proposed use will not create additional requirements at public cost for public facilities as the Commerce Center, where the proposed business is located, is currently served by public sewer and private well. The approval is subject to the following conditions. The proposed special land use undercoating is subject to approval by the Township Board. The applicant shall adequately address the outstanding items noted in the Planning Department's memorandum dated September 3rd, 2020. Revised plans, if necessary, shall be subject to an administrative review by the planning staff prior to the issuance of a land use permit. A land use permit is required for the proposed special land use. Applicant complies with any requirements of the Department of Public Works Director, Township Engineering Consultant, Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority, and all other government agencies as applicable.
Support.
Okay, so we have a motion to recommend approval of site plan and special land use application number 20-009 from Commissioner Voigt, second from Commissioner Mitchell. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All righty, good luck at the next step.
All right, thank you.
We have no old and new business. We do have another call to the public. Anyone? Okay, we'll close that. And Troy, do you have any planners report this evening?
I do have one item, just so you are aware, our code enforcement officer has retired and is no longer with us. So we are currently advertising for a code enforcement officer. If anyone is interested or anyone knows anyone that's interested, please feel free to contact me, and I would appreciate that.
So you would be filling in his place?
We are,
Good luck, thank you. Yep, you too.
so,
All right, thank you. Item 10, committee reports. Anything? Nope. All right, seeing none, we're going to take a brief recess here and then move to a work session. So just a couple minutes, we'll be right back.